Level in 2 weeks. Deutsche Welle correspondent Chelsey Dulaney joins me now from Berlin. Chelsey, things are ramping up in terms of vaccination rates too. How is Germany faring?
Well, Germany's vaccination rate, like much here in Europe, got off to a very, very rocky start. The first 3 months were really characterized by one setback after another. But things do seem to have turned a corner here in Germany on Wednesday. The government says that they vaccinated about 1 million people, so 1% of the population. That's about 3 times as much as they were vaccinating at the start of the month. And what really seems to be driving this is 2 factors. One, the supply situation has changed dramatically in the past couple of weeks. The first, at the start of the year, all of Europe was really struggling with a shortage of vaccines, in part because of AstraZeneca and the fact that they really fell behind on their planned commitments to the EU. But we've seen Pfizer and the German startup that they are working with, BioNTech, really step into the fold. And this week, the EU announced a 1.3 billion dose deal for vaccines as well. So that is starting to help increase supply. But the other thing that seems to be really helping is that general practitioners here in Germany can now give shots as well. They vaccinated about a third of that 1 million people on Wednesday. So that also seems to be helping things accelerate. But of course, things are still very much in flux. Only about 1/4 of the population here has received a first dose. And for some more vulnerable groups, like those over 70, the vaccination rates remain very, very low. So there still is a lot to do. But we are starting to see this have an impact, hopefully, on the overall spread of the virus. As you mentioned, the infection rate has fallen to a 2-week low. There's a lot of hope that that trend is going to hold.
There's hope travel will be allowed to restart on the continent in the coming months, but the German airline Lufthansa has a bleaker outlook.
The discussion over travel has really intensified here in Europe over the past couple of weeks as we head into the summer months, and also as the vaccination race starts to pick up. Many European countries are desperate for the return of international travel. So we heard earlier this week from the head of the EU, Ursula von der Leyen, that they do plan to allow vaccinated tourists from America in starting in the summer. Some countries like Greece plan to do that even quicker because they are so dependent on spending from those tourists. But there still are a lot of open questions. One of those is whether Europeans will be able to travel. There are still a lot of travel restrictions in place, and the EU is pinning a lot of hopes on one of these vaccination certificates, a vaccine passport. They're calling it the Green Digital Certificate here, that has been approved at the EU level, but there's still a lot of discussion and a lot of discrepancies among countries about what that will mean. So I think the travel industry is still looking at this quite cautiously. They do expect things to pick up a little bit, but Lufthansa is saying yesterday that they only expect to fly about 40% of their capacity. So they are not quite buying, they're not sold on the idea that we're going to see a normal summer travel season this year.
Chelsey, a long-standing German tradition, Munich's Oktoberfest was cancelled last year and it's in doubt again, but there could be some good news for beer and pretzel lovers.
Indeed. Oktoberfest could be going to Dubai. This is from a story yesterday from a German tabloid Bild. There are reportedly discussions about having an Oktoberfest in Dubai this year. It would basically try to replicate the Oktoberfest experience, beer tents, German businesses, German songs. Arnold Schwarzenegger is reportedly set to come as well. So for a lot of German businesses, this could be, a very good business outlet, because we don't know yet if Oktoberfest is going to go on this year because of the coronavirus situation here in Europe. And Oktoberfest brings in about €1 billion every year to businesses in the Munich area. So it's possible that we will see 2 Oktoberfest this year if Oktoberfest is allowed to go on in Munich. But if not, many are going to be hoping that this Dubai Oktoberfest, which could last for up to 6 months, could help fill in some of that revenue that they're losing here in Germany.
Oktoberfest in Dubai doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Chelsey Dulaney reporting from Berlin. Russia's most prominent opposition figure